right, here's something I don't think enough people are talking about. And I think that most people would not want to say they have an abundance problem, but I do think they have a belief problem. Hey, it's Anna Gibbs, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Monday Morning Mojo. We are going to dive into this whole concept around abundance versus scarcity. It's actually going to be a two-part series, so you'll have to come back and join me for the rest of the conversation next week. But today, I think it's going to be really important for us to just really understand more about abundance and how we maybe somewhere along the way adopted these ideas about what is possible for us and what we deserve or about how life works. And I think that, these ideas, they quietly form a lot of thoughts, and it really is shaping our decisions around life. And so I want to get into the truth about this, because the truth is that we are living life from the inside out. What do I mean by that? Our inner thoughts, our inner belief system is what is shaping our reality out here. Because look, think about it. We're all living in the same world, but we're having very different existence. We're all having a very different experience. And I think it's because of the way that we are processing and the way that we are choosing to look at life. And I want to incorporate a lot of my education and training as a coach, as an NLP practitioner, and weave it right into my own real experiences so that we can have this honest conversation around abundance. And I want to share with you what I think are some of the biggest myths holding us back and keeping us from experiencing a bigger life, a more abundant life. And I think if we can debunk these three myths, we can really achieve so much more. So are you ready? I want to get into first defining abundance for you. And I think that that is important because the definition I want to share with you matters so much. It's going to frame the whole conversation. So before we go any further, let's just define abundance. Because I think if I asked, 10 different people, I would get 10 different answers. I would get 10 different ways that people are connecting with or defining abundance. But here's the interesting thing. As unique as your explanations might be, the one thing that I find a lot of people think about when they think of abundance, they think of money. And abundance is so much more than that. Now, one of the things we have to embrace is that abundance is living from a belief that life is full of possibility. Yes, abundant thinking has us thinking and believing that life is full of possibility, not limitations. And it really is so much more than money or success. And while money could certainly be one expression of abundance, it is not abundance itself. Abundance is a way of life. Abundance is a way of thinking. Abundance is a way of existing. And I think abundance is knowing that there's enough for everyone. Abundance is knowing that you have the ability to dream, to create vision, that if you believe it's possible, it can be. And I believe that abundance is having enough confidence to act, even if you're not quite sure what all the steps may be, if you're not quite sure of what the outcome will be. Abundance has you believing that it is within your right to have the vision or the dream and that you should go for it. So, I also think abundance is a feeling of peace, a feeling that, yes, you do need to go to work, roll up your sleeves, that whatever it is that you want to accomplish or have in life may not be easy, but it is possible. It is within your reach. It is a understanding that abundance can be this super highway to lead you to the life you want to have. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because I want to inspire you to go for it. I want to inspire you to know that yes, there is enough out here for you, that abundance is your birthright. Yes, abundance is your birthright. And so in order for you to embrace that, we do have to take an honest look at what might be holding us back from having a more abundant vision for our lives or an abundant mindset. So let's break it down. Here are the 3 myths that I believe are keeping you from living an abundant life. Number 1, the belief that abundance isn't for everyone. This belief has you thinking, or has people thinking, that maybe it's only for some of us. That abundance is only for those people who are lucky, or who were born to a certain family, or who had connections, who had certain opportunities, they came from money, maybe they're smarter, maybe they're more confident. And look, I know that for a lot of us it's hard to admit when we've had these thoughts, but for most of us, it's understanding that the way we're thinking is shaping our reality. And so when we stop seeing opportunity, it's usually because we believe it's not available for us. And we somehow have convinced ourselves that it belongs to someone else. And so if you're tracking with me on this, I'm here to tell you that this is the first place for us to get started. One of the most fascinating concepts in psychology itself is how we tend to program our thinking to confirm what we're thinking. In other words, we search for evidence to prove ourselves right. There's something in the back of your brain called the reticular activating system, or the RAS. And your RAS is going to seek out ways to bring evidence to support your thinking. In other words, when you buy that new car that you thought no one ever had before, and you suddenly see it on the road and other people driving it, that's your RAS kicking in. It was probably there all along, but you weren't tuned into it. So your RAS is tuning in to those things. And so when you believe that money is not something that you can accumulate in life, you're going to find evidence and information to support that. If you think that you're bad with money, you're going to notice every financial mistake you've ever made. You're going to play it back in your mind. You're going to tell yourself that it's true. If you hold on to a limiting belief that says, I never get opportunity, you're going to prove yourself right every time. You're going to find evidence around how you've been overlooked for an invitation, a relationship, any possibility, any promotion, because your brain is so busy proving you're right, because your brain is here to support you. Your mind isn't asking you what is true. You have to ask yourself what is true. So your mind is here to support you, and it's just going to play back to you whatever it is that you are telling it. So if you're telling yourself that you're not good in your finances, or money is always not available to you, or you'll never get out of debt, you're going to prove yourself right every time. But if you tell yourself that you're an opportunity magnet, if you tell yourself that there are possibilities everywhere, that there is enough to go around, you're going to see how that energy starts to point you in the direction of more abundance. And so that's what we mean by a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. A growth mindset is always seeking possibility. And a fixed mindset is set on a very small set of rules and expectations, and is not searching for any evidence beyond that. A growth mindset is saying that things can change. A fixed mindset is saying the status quo is what it is. And so I think that for us to be able to move past our limitations, we have to really challenge our thinking and our beliefs. Those beliefs can be, something that we've held on to for a long time. They can be very deep in our subconscious mind. And I believe that research has shown us time and time again that individuals who believe that they can learn, that they can improve their life at any moment, are also more resilient. They are also programmed to meet the challenges and the adversities head on because they have this understanding and belief that whatever comes their way, they'll somehow figure it out. Even if they have to gain some support or information, there's a way that they can move past it. So I want you to know that the difference between you and your next level of success may not be talent, may not be some big opportunity. It may be in how you're interpreting your own reality. Successful people don't necessarily experience fewer setbacks. They just know how to bounce back from them when those setbacks happen. They are not interpreting setbacks as anything permanent. They look at a failure or a setback as information. It gives them information that helps them understand what they have to do differently next time. So I'll tell you this, one of the things that I've observed in my career as a leader and as a coach is that the most successful people I've worked with are the people who believed that everything would just work out. They were the people who believed they could figure it out. They were the people who came from this abundant way of thinking that really had them understanding and believing that there were resources out here for them, there were people out here, that there's always a way to figure it out. So, where have you perhaps already decided that something is not available to you? I mean, right now, just get real with yourself, get honest with yourself. And I want to normalize this a little bit because I think we've all found ourselves at a place like this at least once or twice in our lives. The question is, how often are you finding yourself there and how long do you stay there? But right now, just take a moment and ask yourself, where are you thinking in terms of scarcity? Is it around your relationships? Is it around your finances and your ability to be financially free? Is it around your career or what your next move could be? Maybe it's the thinking you have around owning a business, writing a book, starting a business. Is it something around your own definition of purpose? What is it? And where did it come from? Who told you that it couldn't be available to you? Who told you that it wasn't possible? Who told you that there was a limit or only a select few? Because when you take the time to really examine your thoughts and beliefs and also really ask yourself, where does it come from? I think that the information will reveal so much to you about how many stories we're holding on to and how we can rewrite the story and, more importantly, decide what we want to believe. So here's how I want to sum up the first myth. I want to turn it into a truth. So the first myth was that abundance was only available to some of us. And the truth around that is that abundance is available and it is your birthright. Abundance is not reserved for a select few. It is equally distributed. It is always easy to create, and the possibility exists within every one of us. It is your birthright. All right, let's talk about myth 2. Abundance is only about money. As I said when I opened up this conversation with you today, abundance is so much more than that. It is true that money matters. We get it. We live in a real world where money matters. Let's not pretend that it doesn't. Money creates opportunity and options. It reduces stress. It provides security. But here's the truth. If money alone created abundance, every wealthy person in this world would feel deeply fulfilled. And we have to acknowledge that that's probably not true. So while money can create options, it doesn't necessarily bring you happiness. So again, the research has shown that positive psychology has spent decades studying what contributes to human flourishing. That is the whole root of positive psychology. And people are consistently reporting higher life satisfaction when they experience meaning, strong relationships, autonomy, purpose, personal growth, fulfillment, contribution, health, financial stability. Notice, money itself is not on the list. And an accumulation of money is not on the list. It isn't the whole list. The list is so much more meaningful and deeper than that. Now, 6 forms of abundance could be financial abundance, time abundance, energy abundance, relationship abundance, health abundance, purpose abundance. And I would ask you this question right now. Which one of those have you been neglecting? Where do you feel most fulfilled? Because this is where it's happening. I think when people are focused on one area of their life, we can find that something else is getting ignored or depleted. And I know I've shared this resource with you many times here on Mojo, the Wheel of Life exercise. We'll put a link in the show notes for you again. That's a great way for you to take some time out and assess how you're feeling in each of these areas, because we want to create abundance in each of the areas I mentioned: your finances, your relationships, your career, your health, your spirituality, what brings you purpose and meaning. And so by taking the time to evaluate or assess how fulfilled you feel in each of those areas, you actually get to make some conscious decisions about what you could call in each of those areas. Because again, abundance is available to you. So how do you want to feel more fulfilled in any of the areas that I just mentioned? Another really important part of that is really, I think, accepting where you are at any given moment, even in an area where you know there's room for growth. Maybe when you look at your physical health, you, on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe it only feels like a 6 at the moment. But there's always something you can do to raise the needle a little bit so that you can feel more fulfilled. Yet before that even kicks in, can you feel grateful for where you are currently? Because a 5 or a 6 is better than a 0. And so it does start with acknowledging where you are at any given moment. That's where abundance begins. When you can acknowledge and feel grateful for whatever it is in your life, when you can recognize the good things happening, when you realize that comparing yourself to other people is robbing you of your joy, when you can take stock or inventory and take a moment to say, oh, I am blessed and fortunate because I have fill in the blank. Before you even set your sights on what you want to call in, express gratitude, be rooted in the present moment, and feel good about that, because that can lead to so much more abundance, right? So I think when you give your brain an opportunity to recognize and be grateful, you recognize how abundant you already are. And that's how you can naturally begin acting from abundance. So, money does not equal abundance. I'll prove it to you right now. If I was to deposit $1 million into your account right now, but you lost your health, or your closest relationship, or your inner peace, would you consider yourself abundant? Probably not. The money that's in your bank account can't create more abundance in your relationships. It can't improve your health, and it couldn't help you find peace. So, money does not equal abundance. The truth is, money is only one expression of abundance. It's not the definition itself. So, the first myth we covered says abundance belongs to someone else. The second myth says abundance equals money. The third myth might be the most powerful one, because it often begins before we're old enough to question it. And here it is. Myth number 3. Because I grew up around scarcity, I'll always struggle. The core message here is that for some of us, we hold on to this limiting belief or this myth, and it's connected to this belief that because we struggled, because our family may not have had as much as the next family, because we felt somewhat deprived in some way. Maybe you weren't able to take vacations as a kid. Maybe you didn't go to the best schools. Maybe because there was some sense of lack in your earlier years, you have held on to this subconscious belief that you're always going to struggle. Now, I have found in all the years I've been coaching, this is hard for a lot of people. And I say this to you with a big hug, that we can't fix anything until we face it. And so this whole conversation around abundance is to raise your awareness so that you can ask yourself, so that you can interrogate your own reality. And I believe that our life changes based on the questions we ask ourselves, if we're brave enough to wait for the answer. And so perhaps myth number 3 is the strongest one acting in your life right now, that because you grew up around scarcity, you think you always are going to struggle. You think that you have this path of challenge or adversity. And you know this could be true when you find yourself saying things like, it's never easy, it's always hard, we've always struggled, we don't have this, we don't have that. And here's the thing. Children don't choose their beliefs. They absorb them. When you grow up hearing some of these messages, you accept that to be your reality or your truth. And this is not about blaming our parents per se. It's just about understanding conditioning. It's understanding that when you grew up hearing things like money doesn't grow on trees, and life is hard, and you've heard, a parent say, no, we can't afford it. Even if it was true for that moment, the way that it is explained to us or the response that we're given is creating a story in our mind at that moment that as a child we hold on to. We absorb these beliefs, we absorb these words, we hold on to them as a truth that shapes our reality well into the future. And the crazy thing is we don't even realize it, because sometimes those beliefs are so deep in our subconscious. They started when we were so young. We don't even realize that they're operating. And we condition ourselves to believe that life is hard. And I'm not saying that life doesn't have hard moments, but life itself doesn't have to be hard. And depending on where you are at this moment, this message may not be easy to hear. But the truth is, when you've grown up hearing things like, life is hard, people like us don't get ahead, we can't afford that, don't get your hopes up, nothing comes easy, over time, those messages become our assumptions. Those messages become our operating system. We believe that's true. And it, as I said, it's so deep that we stop questioning it. And they become our assumptions, not because they are true, but because they're familiar. And look, we learn a lot of great things from our parents and our grandparents. So we sometimes stop to sort out what we're learning from them that is working for us or against us. We just take it all as, this is what we're learning, this is what they're teaching us. And so what could be happening for a lot of us is that we were taught to think in terms of scarcity rather than abundance. And when we really get into understanding what scarcity thinking is, scarcity is believing that you lack resources. Scarcity thinking has you believing that you're limited, where an abundant mindset has you thinking that it's possible. There's so much that is possible. And so when we're constantly in fear that there's not enough money, not enough time, not enough opportunity, not enough love, our brains will become consumed by survival rather than thriving. And then our brains, because it's focused on surviving, has us in this fight or flight response. Survival thinking makes it difficult to imagine possibilities because you're so focused on just getting through today. And as your brain is in this survival thinking, it's only focused on looking for the resources, the answers, and the solutions to get through today's challenges. It doesn't allow you to think about what you might need to do tomorrow or how to create progress and make steps forward because you're so consumed with just getting through today. And when that type of thinking is chronic, it's going to change how you respond. It's going to change how you navigate the world around you, because that chronic stress will just continue to change how you think. So under prolonged stress, the brain prioritizes protection over exploration. We become risk averse. We don't think in terms of possibility. We become less creative, more reactive, because that's what helped us to survive. But it doesn't necessarily help us build the life we say we want. But here's the good news. Our brains are so adaptable. Our brains remain adaptable our entire life. So whether you are hearing this message at 19, 39, 69, or 99, you can make a decision to change the way you think. Your brain can adapt, and your brain can learn a whole new set of operating systems, a whole new set of beliefs. You can create new thoughts based on new beliefs. You can create new beliefs based on new experiences. You can repeat that over and over again to create a positive loop rather than the repetition that was creating a negative loop. You can be more intentional about your thinking. You can be more intentional about building better habits. You can create more meaningful action that can create a whole new neural pathway in your brain. In other words, simply put, you are not destined to continue to repeat the past. You don't have to remain wired that way. You can completely change your system. One of the most important shifts I think any of us can make is realizing this. Your childhood explains a lot of your beliefs, but it doesn't have to predict your future. You inherited maybe your first story, but you can edit all the next chapters. So here's where I want you to sort of zero in now on your thinking. While we can't change the past, we can rewrite the future. You hold the pen, so you can rewrite the next chapter. So in order to do that, it's about being aware of what it is that you create struggle around now. So what have you accepted as, well, it's just the way it is? Really, examine the beliefs right now. What do you think you have held on to, maybe even from the beginning of your childhood, that has you thinking, well, it's just the way it is? Because I don't think that's actually true. And it's more important for you to ask yourself that question. Is this actually true? Or has it just been something that became familiar? Has it just been something that has been passed down to me? But do I have now the power to choose differently? Do I have the power to think differently? The answer is yes. So, the truth is that the past does not have to continue to influence you. The truth is that no matter where you started out in life, you have a choice right now between scarcity and abundance. Your past does not have to imprison you. Abundance is available the moment you decide it is yours to have. The moment you begin making different decisions, abundance will start flowing. I tell you this because it has happened in my life time and time again. The moment that you decide to operate from possibility rather than fear, you step into abundance. You have the right to choose differently and create a life full of unique experiences, exciting career opportunities, nurturing relationships, And you can right now make a commitment to ease into any of those options the moment you decide to think a little differently. The moment you decide to challenge how you've been thinking. So we've examined the 3 beliefs that I think are holding you back from abundance. Number 1 is the belief that it's not available to you. Number 2, the belief that it's only about money. And number 3, that just because you may have started out struggling, that doesn't mean you will struggle for the rest of your life. So the truths that I have presented to you are much more compelling, I hope. If you walk away with one thing, is this: abundance is your birthright. It's available to you. It's available to everyone. Abundance is not about money only. Abundance is this: it's a belief. It is knowing that a truly abundant life is rich in purpose, relationships, health, peace, time, and yes, financial freedom. Instead of believing that since I've always struggled, I will always struggle. It's believing that your past may have shaped you, but it does not have the power to shape what comes next. Your past may have taught you a lot of things, but your past does not determine your future. Only you do. Remember, you hold the pen. You get to write the next chapter. And I think the fact that you're still listening to this message shows me that you have a desire to turn away from scarcity and towards abundance. So if you're still with me, it's time to learn how to turn that limiting belief system into something much more freeing and empowering. It's time to turn away from scarcity thinking and into abundant thinking. If you're committed to more abundance, I'm going to ask you right now to choose that right here with me. Make a choice that you're going to start to challenge your thinking and choose abundance over fear. And I'm going to say this too. When I tell you that abundance is your birthright and that this is a choice, I understand that life may not always be fair, because it's not. This is not a conversation that just says life is great and you have to believe it so. Life is not always fair. And things are not always going to come easy. And I've learned that myself many times. And this is not about just some positive thinking, woo-woo, that is going to change your world. What I'm saying to you is this: you always have a choice. And what you focus on will only expand in your life. So what I'm asking you right now, in this moment, on this little podcast, is to make a decision about how you want the rest of your life to look. Because you can make decisions, you can make choices. Maybe they're not easy. Maybe they require courage. Maybe it even requires some healing. It may certainly require letting go of some of beliefs that you've probably held on to for a long time. But it's all up to you. These are all choices you get to make. And maybe you need some information, some support, or some resources. That's available to you too. But it's about knowing that every choice you make from possibility instead of fear is one more step towards an abundant life. Now, there's one more thing I want to add to make this really clear for today, is that you get one shot at this life. And so you get to decide, as I said right now, what you want the rest of your life to mean to you, how you want to experience it, how you want to live it. And you deserve more. You deserve the best that life has to offer. You have the right to achieve the things you see in your imagination. I want that for you. The universe wants that for you. And I want abundance to flow into your life. As I said, This is the first part of a two-part conversation. I want you to come back next week where I'm going to share with you the 9 attributes of an abundant thinker. Now that we've taken a look at the difference between abundance and scarcity, we've examined some of our thoughts and beliefs, and we're making decisions to live our life in a different, bigger way. I want to give you some tools next week to understand how abundant thinkers operate so that you have a blueprint to become an abundant thinker. So make sure you join me next week for the 9 attributes of an abundant thinker. And the other thing that I want to leave you with is this. I, as you know, have a new book coming out. Getting Back to You will be available shortly. You're going to hear about it here first on Mojo. And the whole philosophy around abundance is alive and well throughout the book. So if you find yourself seeking out ways to feel more in alignment, if you are looking for action to take around creating a different future for yourself, I invite you to get a copy of the book, but I also invite you to reach out to me. Let me know what I can do to help you, because I know that part of my life's purpose is to help you find yours, to help connect you to an more abundant way of thinking and operating. And so if there is a conversation that you would like to have, please reach out to me, send me a DM, and there are lots of resources that I can provide you so that you can continue on this journey of living a much more abundant life. Thank you for joining me today and every week. And I know that this was a powerful episode for some of you. So right now, think about who else needs to hear it. Share it with someone that you know could be blessed by the conversation. And also right now, leave me your 5-star review. Make sure you're following the podcast so you know when new episodes come out. But leaving a 5-star review is so helpful to a podcast because it's how we continue to grow. It's how we can continue to reach more people and allows us to really be in the space that we want to be in. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Go and live an abundant life today. Thanks again.